This one?
Should be,
yeah. This one, it also. Okay. So I can pass it around and give it to you. All right, welcome back, everyone, to this second panel of ours. I feel privileged to welcome two guests, Eklund and Lindwall. She's from East Stratcom Task Force and European External Action Service, and also very welcome Martin Michalski, a correspondent of Gazeta Wyborcza and Director of Partnership and Communication of the EU Disinfo Lab. I think this sounds exciting enough. By the way, my name is András Schweitzer. I was, until very recently, Vice Chair of the European Society, and I work for ELTE University, Faculty of Social Sciences, just like Anna earlier. I think the topic is very exciting, with which I do not want to say that the first panel was not exciting, because it was. But this time we are going to hear about issues of disinformation, protection against disinformation. So I hope to hear some secrets of counter-disinformation campaigns and cyber warfare, in fact. So the floor is yours, Ida. She has a presentation to show you, and I will pass the microphone to her.
Maybe I can
Yeah.
have this instead. Yeah. You can hear me, right? Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just explain briefly what the East Stratcom Task Force is, what we do, how we work, and some of the findings we found since we started 3 years ago, approximately. So the East Stratcom Task Force was founded due to Council conclusions in 2015. So it was all EU heads of state that came together and decided that EU needs to do something about the Russian ongoing disinformation campaign targeting the EU. And the decision was to set up a task force within the division of strategic communication in EAS, External Action Service. We work with three objectives concerning this. So the first one, communicating EU policies more effectively in the Eastern Partnership countries. So that's the Caucasus, Ukraine, Moldova, and Belarus. And that was decided mainly because these are fertile ground for Russian disinformation, and where they put a lot of effort to sway the kind of general perception of the EU, and it's also kind of clear by then that the EU communication was not so successful as we would want it to be in those countries. So my colleagues, 7 of my colleagues work with this purely to help the EU delegations in the Eastern Partnership countries to communicate EU policies better, and to kind of be the ones that deliver the message from the EU rather than the Kremlin being that messenger. Then we work with strengthening media environment. That we do purely by helping DJ NEAR, so the Commission, to allocate money to different projects, mainly supporting independent journalism in both Russia and, well, of Russian origin, let's say, and also in the Eastern Partnership countries, but working closely with the Commission in these kind of projects. But I will only talk about the third objective, which is here called forecasting and responding to disinformation, but we are, I must say, still in the phase of raising awareness about the ongoing Russian disinformation campaign. We've been working, as I said, since 2015, and our idea from the beginning how to kind of try to battle this with very limited resources, that is no budget, and the first year 1 person, second year 2 people, and third year 3 people. So we thought we will expose the ongoing Russian disinformation campaign by collecting samples every week. We did that from the beginning and by setting up a voluntary network of contributors, NGOs, journalists, think tanks around Europe and in the Eastern Partnership countries that did a media monitoring within their media environment and sent examples of pro-Kremlin disinformation to us. We would collect all of those, do own media monitoring as well, and then do it like a trend analysis weekly. And since 2015, about November, December, we've been issuing every Thursday, every week, the Disinformation Review, which is a trend analysis of this week's pro-Kremlin disinformation campaign, and targeting the EU, basically. So we can establish that the pro-Kremlin media is spreading disinformation about the EU. So why is this problem? Is a question we have been getting, especially in the beginning, also in Brussels. Now we have a little bit more support than before, but it's still something that we need. Well, for Russia and for the Kremlin, this is part of their military doctrine. It's clearly stated, and it's not something they are trying to hide in any way, that information warfare is a non-military means to reach political and military goals. It's stated by the top of the Kremlin in military and security doctrine documents. And it's especially striking that this is something that is employed throughout, from full peace to full war. So in other countries where this might be something you would use when you are at war with someone, this is something that the Kremlin uses also in full peacetime. So that is a continuous use of this kind of military strategy, let's say. Also, the Kremlin has invested a significant amount of money into the pro-Kremlin disinformation campaign. We all know by now the international accounts, Russia Today, now called RT, and Sputnik, of course. During a time when Western journalism has suffered from less and less funding, this is not the case with the pro-Kremlin outlets. They are sufficiently funded, let's say. The Kremlin has also been quite successful in the use of social media platforms, as we've seen now in the investigations following the elections in the US in 2016, where Russia was meddling, to say the least, in the election campaign. The use of Facebook and Twitter was quite successful, both by pro-Kremlin linked and set up accounts, buying ads, not showing any, not focusing on Russia or Kremlin or Putin or showing them as the great way forward, but actually to further divide society, so targeting already existing divisions in society. In the US, it was to a large extent the race issue. So, for example, Black Lives Matter movement and white supremacists, or putting different religious groups against each other. Also using bot armies. It's been shown after this that it's extremely cheap to buy a bot army. About 1,000 Twitter accounts cost $45. And it looks like they are real people, and then you just get your message out there, spread it, and immediately it looks like a large amount of people support that message and see that as the truth. Of course, we also have the troll factory, so-called, the Internet Research Agency, operating from St. Petersburg. It recently, beginning of this year, expanded to 3 times as big physical place, actually. So they're expanding. This is one of the entities that are being indicted in the US after the elections and the investigations, the Mueller investigations. And of course, it's successful. I mean, this is from a recent study from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They've been looking at Twitter, and disinformation travels about 6 times faster than truth on Twitter. So, of course, it's successful, easy, and cheap. Obviously, disinformation is not the only tool in the Kremlin's toolbox. They use different kind of tools playing on deniability. I talked about troll armies, cyber attacks, but also organized crime, funding of think tanks, extremist parties within the EU, and so forth. But the effects that they want to achieve is affecting, dividing, disorientating the population, and paralyzing the politicians' decision-making within our democratic countries. Of course, this is something happening both in Russia and abroad. In Russia, it's more about showing Russia's supremacy in any kind of way. Also, a little bit portraying, or not a little bit, a lot portraying Russia as the superhero of the world. Solving every international issue. But abroad, it's not so much, as I said, about portraying Russia as the great hero, although that also happens to a large extent, but more about polluting the information environment with disinformation in order to undermine trust in traditional media, in democratic institutions, in certain politicians, but in the end, actually for the democratic system as such. And they do this with, of course, different tactics. They have a lot of means and tools to use. So they try something, it works, they keep doing it. If it doesn't, they try something else. But repetition is the mother of disinformation. So this happens a lot. Playing on the notion that there's no fire without, there's no smoke without fire. Something has to be true in this idea. And this we see with several different messaging coming from the pro-Kremlin sphere. Recent example of big pro-Kremlin disinformation campaigns have been surrounding the Visegrád case, of course, in the UK, and subsequently the latest chemical attack in Duma in Syria. And in these cases, they actually combined the two cases after a while, because they happen quite close together. So, of course, in pro-Kremlin media, a lot of blame was put on the UK and many different other actors. The knowledge could have come from Sweden or Czech Republic, or it was Portland Down that had a leak, or it was the mother-in-law that poisoned these Skripals. So there were several. 38 to be exact, so far we found 38 different narratives explaining the Skripal case, none of them putting the blame on Russia, of course. But then the Duma attack happened, and at that time, the White Helmets have been long-standing, the target of a long-standing pro-Kremlin disinformation campaign. The civilian rescue force in Syria, and they're being blamed for staging attacks, they're being blamed for being terrorists, they're being blamed for actually being the perpetrators of the crimes, and in this case they actually combined it to saying that no, it's actually UK now supplying the White Helmets with chemical weapons to do attacks in Syria. And actually here we also see a combination with how successful they are on social media platforms, because Russia Today, from a recent study by DFR Lab, so Russia Today has about 20 different YouTube channels. Some apparent YouTube RT linked, and some are completely not showing that they are linked at all. And due to the YouTube's news recommendation algorithm, the top recommended source of news concerning both Duma, Skripal, and the White Helmets are RT because of the algorithm. And these are three of the most notorious disinformation campaigns spread from the Kremlin. So that's really worrying. But we also see, as I said, covering the facts with disinformation until you can't tell the difference. So from the get-go of a specific situation where Russia is blamed or the Kremlin is blamed for being complicit in the crime committed, like the Skripal case, the bombing of the humanitarian convoy in Syria, 2 years ago, and also, of course, the MH17 case. Just repetition or just flowing the information space with so many different narratives concerning one and explanations to one specific event that and in MH17 so far it's 57 different kind of explanations from the Kremlin, and this is not only pro-Kremlin media, this is also Russian embassies tweeting. This is also the Ministry of Defense presenting evidence in the case, faked satellite images where to the general public it might look like something that is actually real. Oh, okay, now Russia has presented their evidence, and it's like, here we got this evidence, truth must be somewhere in the middle. But of course, if experts look closer on these evidences, for example, the satellite images would show an airplane that was kilometers long, for example, quite not so professionally put together evidence, but they're getting better and better. So they have several different channels, but of course also these international channels keep peddling these messages coming from the Kremlin all the time. And to arrive, so that the general audience should arrive to the conclusion that there's no way of knowing the truth. Like, we have absolutely no way of knowing what is true or not. Let's not just trust any media, not trust any investigations, no institutions. It's just all a big chaos, and not trusting the Kremlin or the pro-Kremlin media either. Just not trust anything, and not trying to get to the truth. When we look at the EU, the main narratives are quite contradictory, but they are being pushed at the same time anyway by these channels. This is simplified, but EU is interventionist and aggressive. At the same time, EU has completely collapsed, basically because we're taking in so many asylum seekers and migrants. But also that EU is decadent, specifically in the Caucasus and Eastern Partnership countries that are now closing in towards EU with trade deals and association agreements. The kind of image of EU is that if you move closer, or if you want to be a part of the EU, EU will force your children to become homosexual. EU will force you to legalize pedophilia and all these kind of quite absurd and extreme ideas. But they have been repeated again and again in these countries, and it's quite effective, it seems. As I said before, of course, they a lot of times don't, completely make up an issue to target, but they use something that is already dividing society, both within societies, in countries, in member states, but also between member states, EU member states. And in EU, of course, it's about migration mainly, so that's the main target, and being really exploited by the pro-Kremlin disinformation campaign. These are real examples that I just took a couple of examples we've seen, but this is very common happening again and again. The Kremlin and pro-Kremlin channels are also quite good at audience analysis, so they will push different narratives towards different audiences depending on what audience they want to reach. Soros, of course, where we are right now, you know all about this already. But this is something that has been going on from the pro-Kremlin disinformation campaign side for a very long time. Soros is blamed for being behind everything basically, and this narrative is especially pushed towards right-wing groups within the EU. Soros is of Jewish descent, and it's like an anti-Semitism conspiracy theory that he is controlling the whole world, which is being used quite a lot when talking to these kind of groups that would buy into that kind of narrative. At the same time, with another group, more like left-wing group, an anti-establishment group, the more blaming everyone for being a Nazi is going to be the narrative. Although it's completely contradictory, like using anti-Semitism and using blaming others for being Nazis at the same time doesn't really matter, because if you don't have a relationship to truth, you can do whatever you want. So this is used a lot, especially when talking about Baltic countries. All the time we're talking about Ukraine, and of course, if you all the time repeat that Ukraine are ruled by Nazis, and all the Ukrainians are Nazis, then also the countries supporting Ukraine are supporting like a Nazi movement. So, of course, that's also a way of trying to divide and push the population of European countries away from their governments that are openly supporting Ukraine and openly taking a stance against Russia because of the illegal annexation of Crimea. So that's another way of getting to dividing society. And just, it's not only like narratives and such, but we've also seen a lot of, some targeting of groups and institutions that are working to expose the kind of hybrid tools that Russia are using, the Kremlin are using, but also exposing disinformation. For example, this is a real example from where the Hybrid Center of Excellence was set up in Helsinki last year. They are the one to the right here. You see the .fi, and this website .ru was started at the exact same time. There was a Twitter account. The left one was the first one tweeting. So obviously they got followers because everyone thought it was the real hybrid threat center. They also had an inauguration the same day on the same street in Helsinki. So some people actually went to the wrong place. Although it was obvious when you got in there that this was not what they actually signed up for. And this was started by the main Kremlin Pro-Kremlin people in Finland, say, with some support from other Scandinavian countries. But it's a quite clear and amusing but sad example as well. Just to show you our channels, we have a website called EU-versus-disinfo.eu, where you can find all our examples of pro-Kremlin disinformation that we have collected so far. It's about 4,000 cases right now, and it's not at all the full image. Due to lack of resources, we merely have like an example, but it's to show that this is ongoing all the time. And there you can see main themes and tactics, and you can also search for specific countries or themes or people. We also publish about 3 to 4 new articles a week on this topic, and there you can sign up for the Disinformation Review, which is the trend analysis that comes every Thursday. And we also have put together a reading list with divided into different topics with all the studies and articles and investigations that we have read so far on the topic. So for further reading on the topic, you can go there. And please also feel free to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, where you can find us on EU Mythbusters or EU versus Disinfo. And I should say, all the disinformation cases are of course paired with the debunk. So if you are then met with the same kind of disinformation campaign targeting you can go there, you can find a debunk, and you can see that this has been used before. And this is also a way of trying to build better resilience for European countries within this area.
Thank you.